Hello everybody, I'm Reggie with I'll Read What She's Reading, and today I'm going to give myself a headache and I'm going to force myself to rate all of the fantasy series I have read. I am nervous. I actually thought of doing a ranking, forcing myself to rank fantasy men, book boyfriends. I think I would rather chew off my arm. We're gonna stick with fantasy series. And I have read, if you include duologies and books I've read more than one of, because there's a lot of other books that I've read that are fantasy, but the first book is the only book that's out, so I didn't include those. I'm gonna be ranking 12 series today. So like I said, including duologies, these are all romantasy. Actually, before we begin, let me just share with you my fantasy journey, okay? Because I feel like a lot of people are similar, and I'd be curious to know if you were the same as me. I got really into reading again. I was a really big reader in middle school, junior high, but I got back into reading again from reading romance books, and I thought I hated fantasy books, okay? I remember trying to read, like I read the first few Harry Potter books. I can't remember how far I got. And what's weird is I have a vivid memory of my mom getting me the first few Harry Potter books, or like the first one. I remember opening the book up. Unfortunately, I have no recollection of actually reading those books. I remember like holding them and like taking one on the bus with me, because I think it was like the fourth or fifth book. I was like, this book is so big. I for some reason, I have no recollection of it. It's quite sad, so that's why I need to read those again. But like I liked Hunger Games, Divergent, but I remember trying to read like Aragon. I'm drawing a blank at all of the other ones that were really popular when I was in middle school, but I remember trying to read some and I couldn't do it. I thought they were weird. And here we are now. I am almost 30, and this is my favorite genre, okay? Nothing will ever compare or beat this genre. So I started reading romance. Started reading romance, and I heard about ACOTAR, and I was like, I'm not reading that. That is weird. And then I was forever changed. I'm gonna guess a lot of you have a similar story, okay? So maybe you're like, Reggie, I didn't need to hear that. That's everybody's story. But I think that goes to show the power that this genre has on the world. So let us begin with the 12 series. And I'm not gonna tell you what the books are. So then you can kind of wait in anticipation and be like, ooh, what's she gonna talk about? I have a random generator that has put them in order from 1 through 12, and then starting with the first one, I'm gonna see where I would place it on my list. Kind of like we do on our TikTok videos where we do our blind rankings. That's kind of the vibe of this, okay? All right, random generator is giving me, for my very first book to rank. Okay, we've got Fourth Wing. The Empyrean series, if you will. I'm actually almost done with my reread of Iron Flame. I'm kind of riding the high of this world right now. The male main character in this book, if you have not read, if you like Romantasy and you haven't read this series, what are you doing? You need to go get on that right now, because Onyx Storm releases this month. And when I tell you, I've actually been losing sleep over it a little bit. I genuinely mean it. I'm honestly like kind of pooping my pants. I'm so nervous. But anyway, my gut is telling me to put this at 4. I'm putting it at 4 for now, because it is the book, like I was mentioning earlier in the video, this book made me feel like I was a kid again, reading Divergent, Hunger Games, and I feel like a lot of people say that. I just think that this world is so exciting, and the dragons alone make this pretty top tier. Like War College, I remember reading the synopsis for this book and being like, oh yeah. I will say Iron Flame underwhelmed me. The ending was incredible though. But reading it again, my love for it, I forget how much I absolutely love it, and I don't think I will ever forget after rereading how much I love it. So I'm putting it at 4. We're gonna stop talking, we're gonna move on. We might be coming back to this. I may need to rate it higher. Next one is Dance of Thieves. Do I put it at 12? Oh no. Okay, but thinking of another, I'm going to go with 11. I'm feeling pretty good about putting it at number 11. And here's the thing. All these Romantasy books that I'm going to be ranking, I did enjoy, okay? None of these are bad books. Dance of Thieves, I think I was just expecting to like it a little more. I'm sure if I went back and read it again, I might like it more, but I don't remember a lot about it. Not much stands out to me except for like the first third maybe of the first book. Like I want to tell you a little bit about what it's about and I wouldn't even begin to tell you. It just was not insanely memorable to me. It's either 11 or 12. Oh no. I'm gonna keep it at 11, locking it in. That is a duology, PS. Anyways, I wish I could expand on that more, but I truly, it's not super memorable to me because I genuinely don't remember a lot of what happens. I remember forced proximity. That's all I remember. All right, we've got, the War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent, daughter of no worlds. Now, let me tell you something. If you listen to the podcast, you know I love Carissa Broadbent. Carissa, I'm talking to you. I love you. I just think that she is a phenomenal fantasy writer because her stories, her characters, I just love them so much. And I think that she is extremely underrated, okay? So if you're familiar with The Serpent and the Wings of Night, Crowns of Nyaxia series, she wrote War of Lost Hearts first. Highly recommend. I love the series so much. I wouldn't rank it though, probably in my top 5, because even though there's so much I love about these 3 books, the second book I had a hard time with because although it was fantastic, the pacing was a little off for me. I don't want to say too much, but this series is very powerful. The magic in it is very cool. There's fae. There's like a rescue involved. It's about friendship. Obviously, it's Romantasy, so there's a really amazing love story in there. The male main character in this series, if there's one male main character I could hug from any book, it would be him. I would just hug him and I would literally never let go. So yeah, I feel like I can't put it in my top 5. Oh man, it's close. I'm gonna say number 6. We're gonna give it number 6. Next, random generator is giving me Spark of the Everflame. Oh boy. All right, you guys. There's sometimes I don't want to say things about books because I don't want people to go into it with preconceived notions. I've been very careful about what I say about this series because here's the things that are really great about it. Okay, 1, it's very easy to follow. I was kind of dual reading it and listening to it, but I mostly listened to it. And it's pretty simple, which is great. And I really liked that. I really like the idea of the world and how it's split up, how the magic works within each of the kingdoms, if you will. I didn't have any issues with the writing. It really gets you from the start, which is really fun. I was very intrigued. The first book was exciting. However, the female main character, if you want to go into this book more blind without any preconceived notions, I want you to like skip ahead a minute or two. But the female main character was insanely infuriating. And the male main character, or love interest, I loved him in the first book. And then he was just driving me a little bit crazy. Here's the thing, I know a lot of people were saying that it was their most favorite series they read in 2024. And I absolutely love that for you if that was the case. My question for you is, what books have you read before this? What books have you read before this series? I think I try really hard to separate myself from like when I'm reading a new fantasy series, I really try very hard to not compare it to other fantasy books. But it was really, really, really hard for me to not do that because, and I don't know if it's because of the amount of fantasy series I've read. I don't feel like I've read a ton, okay? But a lot of it, I just felt like I was one step ahead of the character the entire time because I just kind of knew where things were going. It was kind of like, I've seen this film before. And while I'm really excited about the next book to kind of see where things go for certain reasons, I don't know. It's just, I've had very conflicting feelings with it. And also, can we just talk about how the third book is over, like, is it over 1,000 pages? It was like a 37-hour listen. I can't believe I did that to myself. It's one I would suggest, but there's many, many other series I would recommend first. I think I'm gonna have to give it number 10. Random generator next is giving me Throne of Glass. Now I have a very different opinion when it comes to Sarah J. Maas books compared to my two best friends, Kennedy and Michaela. I don't need to get into my reading experience of Throne of Glass too much because if you listen to the podcast, you're probably like, Reggie, I'm sick of hearing about this. We get it. But Throne of Glass was, I think, the second fantasy series I had ever read. I think. I read ACOTAR first. It was, like I said in the beginning of the episode, it was my very first fantasy read. Really love Throne of Glass. I know that if I were to read it again, it might be my favorite of all time. But I would not say it is. And I think that's just because the reading experience I had while I was reading it, I didn't set up myself for success, if that makes sense. I was reading with Kennedy and Michaela. We were like trying to read it together at the same time. Michaela had already read it and I knew that it was like her favorite series ever. I wouldn't say I had too high of expectations for it, but I think reading it with friends when it's like that long of a series, it was very hard for me to keep up. In case you didn't know, I'm a mother of two. So out of the three of us, was the only one with kids. I guess I just had one kid at the time, but it was hard for me to find the time to read. So then I started listening to some of it and I probably shouldn't have listened to some of it. I really, really did love so many of the books and rated them very highly. And they are some of my favorite books I've ever read. I did skip Tower of Dawn and long story short, should I have read it? Yeah, I probably should. And I really do wish I would have read it, but I don't regret skipping it because I think it maybe would have made my reading experience a little bit worse. Not saying that Tower of Dawn is a bad book. I know it's a lot of people's favorites actually. It's very hard to explain and I know that I get a lot of hate for it, but that's okay because I don't expect anyone to understand the situation I was in and it sounds so dramatic. But my thoughts about Throne of Glass are just, I truly did love it. I truly, truly love it. But is it number one in my heart? Unfortunately not. I am going to put Throne of Glass though at number 2. And you might be laughing at me and screaming at your television right now saying, or your device saying, how can you put it at number 2 when you didn't read Tower of Dawn? I know. Next we have Caraval, this baby. I think that Stephanie Garber is a wonderful, wonderful writer. She's very descriptive. Her characters are so whimsical. The world is magical, wonderful, exciting, very unique. I just struggled with these books and I kind of had to power through them. And I think it's because I had heard so much about them for so long and I heard that people absolutely love it. And I don't know, I had a hard time with the characters. When I finished the 3rd book, there was like a few plot holes or things that I just thought were a little strange. And honestly, it's not crazy memorable to me, and I just read it fairly recently. I still really want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. This was not a bad series. It really is so great. I wish I would have read it a long time ago though. I'm sad that I started it as late into my reading journey as I did. So it's still great. I can't wait to give my daughters these books one day and be like, you need to read these, because there's something very special about them and magical about them. But it just didn't sit with me the way it sat with other people. So number 12, the bottom of the list. So far I'm looking at my rankings and I'm feeling pretty good about them. I haven't butt heads with anything yet. So random generator, what is next? Crescent City. Crescent City, okay. There's only so much I can say about Crescent City, okay? If you know, you know. Do I put it at number 8 or number 7? I did get a spoiler for one of the books. And when I tell you that it was quite literally one of the saddest moments that I had had in a long time, I truly mean it. I was absolutely gutted. But even though I knew the spoiler, it still did not disappoint. I think that there's nothing I have read quite like Crescent City. If you're not familiar with Crescent City, it's a modern day fae. There's mermaids, there's vampires, there's a little bit of everything. And it's almost like they're just in New York City. Just wandering the streets. They got their cell phones, they've got their guns, and it's a wild ride. I think the reason it's not higher on my list, I can't decide between 7 or 8, is because there were some things going on in the plot that when I finished the book, and even all 3 of the books, I said, what was the point of that? Sarah, why did we read about this for like 300 pages? Please enlighten me, because maybe it will make sense one day. I don't know. Bryce is not my favorite character. You can see our podcast episode for House of Flame and Shadow, but it did let me down. Even though there was a lot I absolutely loved about it, it did let me down. Next we have Divine Rivals. This one, my gut is telling me it should, ooh, here we go. This is the first conflict we have here. A part of me is telling me it should go number 8 and put Crescent City at number 9. Oh, no. I think about my reading experience with Crescent City, and it was like insane. My reading experience with this was not insane. Crescent City has a lot more memorable things that I will think about till the end of time. Divine Rivals, no. I think I'm gonna put it at number 9, and let's talk about it. Divine Rivals is a duology by Rebecca Ross. Rebecca Ross, I love you. If your love language is words of affirmation, you would love this book. If you want to step away from the fae for a while, you will love this book. There's no fae. Not that there's anything wrong with fae, but sometimes you're like, okay, let's not talk about fairies. Let's talk about journalists that are rivals. Magical typewriters. This duology is so special. I honestly would love to see a movie of these. I just think that as much as I loved the first one, you guys, I loved it. It was one of my favorite books for the longest time. But the second book let me down a little bit because, I don't know, it's a very great duology. But when I sit and think about it, compared to other series I've read, I think that the second book could have been a lot better. Doesn't mean it wasn't great. I'm putting it at number 9. You guys, am I actually doing a pretty good job at this? I'm getting a little nervous. Okay, let's move on. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Next. Are you guys ready to call me a basic girl? Because this is going at number 1, okay? Now, I know it's not finished. I know that a lot of people love ACOTAR, and I know it's a phenomenon, and You want to know what? It's a phenomenon for good reason. And Sarah Janet Maas, you quite literally have changed my life. Because if it weren't for this series, I mean, it has a special place in my heart because it was the first fantasy series I read as an adult. It sucked me in. I think a lot of us can agree that there's just something so special about ACOTAR, okay? I don't think I need to even get into it. If you haven't read ACOTAR, you might not be watching this video because I feel like a lot of people start with this and it's great. It's so great. I don't even need to keep talking about it. A Court of Mist and Fury is top tier, god tier, if you will. I reread them this year and I almost liked them even more the second time I read them. I probably did. Yeah. Cried, laughed, screamed. When book announced, I honestly, am I getting teary thinking about book 6? Oh my gosh, I need to stop. It's fine. Okay, what's my problem? ACOTAR, number 1, no question. Next. Oh, we're doing good, you guys. We only have 3 spots left. One Dark Window. Oh dear. Okay, let me tell you what I have left, okay? One Dark Window, Crowns of Nyaxia, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, and Powerless, Lauren Roberts. Oh dear. Oh dear. Do I put Powerless? Okay. One Dark Window, as you know from the podcast, we are big fans, okay? It is an absolute perfect duology. Crowns of Nyaxia, out of the 3 of those, has to go up high, so I'm gonna go with number 4. No, number... Oh, but Fourth Wing. Oh, I feel like I'm like trying to pick like my favorite child. Like I can't. Okay. I think Fourth Wing is going to get moved to number 3. And number 4 is going to be The Crowns of Nyaxia. Ooh, that's so hard. But here is my reasoning. You know, I was pretty let down with Everflame in a sense when I first read it. Reading it the second time, I'm enjoying it so much more than I did the first. Crowns of Nyaxia, The Serpent and the Wings of Night, you guys. Round of applause. Well done. That first book, that reading experience, core memory. It was phenomenal. The ending was a roller coaster. Now, you're probably wondering, if you haven't read this series, what is it about? Well, let me tell you. Vampires. There's a trial. You love a good trial trope. A human girl has been raised by a vampire, okay? It is very dark. It's not like a dark romance, but just it's... I think in one of our episodes, Michaela or Kennedy, one of them said, it's quite literally dark because they're vampires. They have to stay in the dark. So the whole time I was picturing this, it was just the most moody, vibey, cold. I don't know how to explain it, but just like this cover. Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I love it so much. I think I'm just riding the high of having read Everflame and getting so excited for Onyx Storm. But a part of me wants to put it at number 3 though because vampires. I think the second book of... Oh, can I put them at... Can they tie? Can they tie for 3rd? I'm forcing myself. Okay. I like the male main character, the love interest, in Fourth Wing more. I love the female main character in Serpent and the Wings of Night more. Oh my good golly. Okay, I'm gonna lock it in. We are gonna put the Empyrean at number 3, Crowns of Nyaxia at 4, final answer. I am sweating. If this video, you get anything from this video, and you gotta go read Carissa Broadbent's books, okay? Go do it right now. Put on your TBR, read immediately. So then we have the Shepherd's King duology. I think that's gotta go at number 5. Oh no, but Powerless. Oh no. You know, I love Powerless because the banter is so good. I love a book with yearning. The brushing of the fingers, like, give me that over Spice any day. However, the Shepherd's King duology to me is perfect because it's unlike anything I've read. The magic system, so cool. Oh no. I'm gonna pause this. I gotta take a second and really think about this. Okay, I gathered my thoughts. And here's where we stand, okay? Crowns of Nyaxia, I locked it in at number 4. Shepherd King's going number 5 with Powerless at number 6. I put Powerless over the War of Lost Hearts. And honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about this list. I'm locking it in. So here we have it. I'm feeling good about that. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments and if you think I should have changed anything. I didn't talk about too much about Powerless, but let me just say real quick, Powerless at number 6. I mean, I love Kai. I keep wondering if I should switch Powerless, but I'm feeling good about it because Powerless was, oh, it was so great, but I just think that the overall dynamic and uniqueness of the Shepherd King, One Dark Window, it just has to go above Powerless for sake of how unique and different and fun. Not that Powerless isn't fun. I don't know, I'm locking it in. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me rank these. I know that I did not enjoy that. That stressed me out, but you know, I'm going to stick with this. It may change as time goes on. Let me know what Romantasy books I should read next, because I actually have no idea what Romantasy series I want to read next. I'm currently moving on in the Red Rising series, so I'm on Iron Gold right now. Once I finish the next 2 books after that with those, I genuinely have no idea where to, oh, actually I forgot. I'm gonna be starting Quicksilver because that is our book club book for this month. We'll be doing our book club episode the first Wednesday of February, and you can find us on Fable. Tune into the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts or here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.